So my name is Julio Silas, and I'll be talking about euthanasia. And I just wanted to start off with two quotes. One quote is, "It takes less time to do things right than to explain why you did it wrong," by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And I have another quote by Mahatma Gandhi: "Be the change you want to see in the world." So my case is Nancy Cruzan. Cruzan versus the director of Missouri Department of Health. And this case was in 1990, and as you can see here, this is Nancy Cruzan. So facts of the case. On January 11th, 1983, in the state of Missouri, 25-year-old Nancy Beth Cruzan was involved in an automobile accident that left her in a persistent vegetative state. Cruzan was sustained for several weeks by artificial feedings through an implanted gastronomy tube. And the parents of Nancy Cruzan wanted to remove her off life support because she was in a vegetative state. She couldn't fend for herself. So, in a request to remove Nancy Cruzan off life support, the hospital denied the parents' request unless there was a court order to remove her off life support. So they took this to the Supreme Court of Missouri, which ruled that Cruzan had to stay on life support unless there was clear and convincing evidence that she would not want to be fed artificially and to be removed from life support, which is kind of conflicting because Nancy Cruzan was in a vegetative state, so we don't know what she wanted. And so they took this case to the United States Supreme Court. And in a 5-4 decision, the United States Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Supreme Court of Missouri. They said that there was no convincing evidence of what Nancy Cruzan wanted. So the court upheld the state's policy because there was no guarantee family members was always in the best interest of incompetent patients. So the Supreme Court found it necessary for the parents to require clear and convincing evidence for removal of Nancy Cruzan on life support. However, it upheld the legal standards that any competent individual has a constitutional right to refuse medical treatment under the Due Process Clause. And what the Due Process Clause does is it secures a person life, liberty, and death, and it makes sure their life and liberty or death is not denied. So the long-term effects of this case was the Living Will Declaration, and it basically specified that how patients such as Nancy want to be treated basically before she gets in an accident or before you can't fend for yourself, so before you become incompetent, just to make sure that you don't have to go through such a case like this where your parents have to decide for you and lets you decide for yourself. Okay, and I have a song that I wanted to play. So I chose this song because not only it's called Pop Song for Euthanasia, but it basically taps into the feelings of a patient that's suffering from euthanasia or suffering from a vegetative state such as Nancy Cruzan. Okay, so how my profession was affected by the case. As a healthcare manager, healthcare managers administer survey questionnaires to staff. Surveys underline issues such as euthanasia, religion, and spiritual beliefs, physician-assisted suicide, and decision-making situations. So basically, this case affected healthcare managers because healthcare managers have to place the health professionals, doctors, and nurses and staff to make sure that their religious views or spiritual views or their ethical beliefs does not affect cases like this. And so you want them to make the right decision, not based on their own personal views. So one society that I think that goes with this case was the Euthanasia Research and Guidance Organization. The Euthanasia Research and Guidance Organization is a non-profit educational corporation based in Oregon, USA. They hold that voluntary euthanasia, assisted suicide, physician-assisted suicide, physician-assisted dying, and self-deliverance are all appropriate life endings depending on the individual medical and ethical circumstances. Another organization I put was Death with Dignity, and so Death with Dignity is a nonprofit organization, and it basically expands the freedom of all qualified terminally ill Americans to make their own end-of-life decisions, including how to die. They also promote death with dignity laws around the United States based on groundbreaking Oregon model. And basically it just provides information, educational, and support about death with dignity as an end-of-life option to patients, family members, legislators, advocates, healthcare and end-of-life care professionals, media, and interested public. And death with dignity mounts legal defense of physician-assisted dying legislation. And that's fine. Any questions, any comments?